Good day everyone, my name is Jenny Gas and today we will be discussing about the USA, United Kingdom and Mexico. So first, we will tackle first the United States of America or the USA. So here, we will say the physical map of the USA. So this map shows the physical features of the United States, including their mountain ranges, including the rivers and lakes. So the United States is a very diverse country with a wide range of geographic features. So as you can see, here the neighboring countries of the United States, we can see in the part here we have the Canada and then Mexico. Then next, the demographic map of the USA. So as you can see, this is the birth rate of the USA and then this is the death rate. So the birth rate map as of 2021, the map shows that the birth rate is highest in the western and southern states and lowest in the northeastern and midwestern states. So this is the legend of the birth rate map. Then we have the death rate map as of 2021 also. The map shows that the death rate is highest in the northeastern and midwestern states and lowest in the western and southern states. Move on to the history of the United States of America or the USA. So by 1776, George Washington, this is the time where the Declaration of Independence in USA happened. But then, followed by 1783, George Washington, Treaty of Paris ends the American Revolutionary War. 1783, the leader also was George Washington. This is the time where Constitutional Convention drafts the U.S. Constitution. So by 1789, George Washington, this is the first U.S. president inaugurated. By 1800s, Thomas Jefferson, Louisiana purchased doubles the size of the United States. By 1812, James Madison, this is the time where War of 1812 with Great Britain happened. So by 1820, James Monroe, Missouri, compromised prohibit slavery in new states north of the 36 degrees parallel. And then followed by 1846, James K. Polk. This is where the time where Mexican-American War happened. Followed by 1848, Zachary Taylor gold rush begins in California. 1861, Abraham Lincoln, American Civil War begins. 1865, also the leader Abraham Lincoln, American Civil War ends. And then also same year, 1865, American Civil War ends. And then 1869, Ulysses S. Grant, this is where the time the Transcontinental Railroad completed. And then 1899, the leader is William McKinley. This is where the time that Spanish-American War happened. And then followed by 1901, Theodore Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. And then 1917, Woodrow Wilson, this is the time where the United States enters the World War I. So in 1920, Woodrow Wilson, also the leader, this is the time where women's suffrage amendment crafted. And then 1929, Herbert Hoover, stock market crash leads to Great Depression. 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt, this is the time where the New Deal programs implemented to address the Great Depression happened in the year 1929. And then by 1941, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the United States enters the World War II. And then 1945, Harry S. Truman, this is the time where the World War II ends. And then by 1949, Harry S. Truman, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization or the NATO founded. So the NATO founded by the year 1949 by the lead of the Harry S. Truman. So 1950 also the leader also is Same leader, Harry S. Truman. This is where Korean War begins. And the 1954, Dwight D. Eisenhower Brown B. This is a Board of Education decision desegregates public schools. And the 1961, John F. Kennedy. This is the Bay of Pigs invasion. So in 1963 also, John F. Kennedy, Cuban Missile Crisis happened. 1963 where si John F. Kennedy is assassinated. And in 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, signed into law. That was happened on 1964. And then followed by 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson, Voting Rights Act of 1965, signed into law. Then 1968, also same leader, Lyndon B. Johnson. This is where Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated. That was happened on 1968. On 1969, Richard Nixon Apollo 11 lands on the moon. That was happened on 1969. So on 1973, Richard Nixon, where Vietnam War ends. 1974, Richard Nixon, also the same leader, resigned as the president. So 1974, nag-resign si Richard Nixon. So 1977, Jimmy Carter, Camp David Accords signed between Egypt and Israel. And then by 1980, Ronald Reagan was elected as president in the US. And then followed by 1989, George H.W. Bush with this year where Cold War ends. And then by 1920, George H.W. Bush, Gulf War begins. And then 1993, Bill Clinton elected as president in the USA on 1993. And then by 1995, Bill Clinton also the North American Free Trade Agreement or the NAFTA implemented. So by the time of Bill Clinton in 1995, where the NAFTA implemented or the North American Free Trade Agreement. And then by 1999, this is where Bill Clinton, NATO bombs Yugoslavia. And then 2001, George W. Bush elected as president. So this year, iba na naman yung president. So same year 2001, George W. Bush, September 11 attacks. And then 2023, George W. Bush, the lead of George W. Bush, US invades Iraq. So that time 2002, ang US invades Iraq. And then followed by 2008, Barack Obama were the elected president. Followed 2029, Barack Obama, by the lead of Barack Obama, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act signed into law. And then by 2011, by the time of Barack Obama also, Bin Laden killed. That was happened on 2011. So by 2016, another president was elected, and that was Donald Trump by the year of 2016. And then by 2020 up to the present, where new elected president, which was si Joe Biden. This is 2023 up to present. So si Joe Biden ang president hanggang ngayon sa USA. And now let's move on to the sociological aspects of the USA. So first, as you can see there, social stratifications. The United States is a highly stratified society with a significant gap between the rich and the poor. The top 1% of earners in the United States control more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. So this gap has been growing in recent decades, and it is a major source of social inequality. So, in terms of race and ethnicity, the United States is a highly diverse society with people from all over the world calling it home. However, race and ethnicity continue to be important factors in American society. African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Native Americans are all more likely to live in poverty than white Americans. So there are races happen. So they are also more likely to be incarcerated and less likely to be employed in high-paying jobs. So, and then next we have the gender. So gender is another important factor in American society. Women are still paid less than men for doing the same work. So they are also more likely to be responsible for child care and elder care. So which can make it difficult for them to participate fully in the workforce. And then in terms of social class is another important factor in American society. So people from different social classes have different opportunities and experiences. So those from higher social classes are more likely to have access to quality education, healthcare, and housing. And they are also more likely to have the jobs with good pay and benefits. So these are the sociological aspects of the USA. And then next, we'll move on to the political aspects of the USA. So these are the some of the political parties of the USA. These are the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, Green Party, and Libertarian Party. And then, when in terms of interest groups, we have here the AFL-CIO or the NAACP or the Planned Parenthood. And then next, we have National Rifle Association, American Enterprise Institute, Chamber of Commerce. And then we have also here Sierra Club, Greenpeace, MoveOn.org, and then Cato Institute, Americans for Prosperity. And then the role in demographic participation. So the role in the demographic participation of the USA, first, they represent the interests of working class Americans, African Americans, and the women. And the second, they represent the interests of gun owners, businesses, and wealthy Americans. Next, they represent the interests of environmental protection, social justice, and peace. And last, they represent the interests of limited government, individual liberty, and free market. So those are the role in demographic participation of the USA. And then, let's move on to ideological aspects of the USA. So first here, in liberalism, liberals typically believe in a limited government that protects individual rights and liberties, a strong social safety, and a free market economy. And then in conservatives, people typically believe in a strong national defense, limited government intervention in the economy, and traditional values. And when in terms of socialists typically believe that the government should play a more active role in the economy and society. And then in communist people typically believe that the government should own and control all means of production, and that the distribution of goods and services should be based on need. And then last, in the libertarianism, libertarians typically believe in a free market economy, non-inversionism in foreign affairs, and individual rights, including the right to bear arms and the right to free speech. And now let's move on to the second country, which is the United Kingdom. So as you can see, this is the physical map of the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom is a relatively small country, but it has a diverse range of geographic features. The mountains, the rivers, and lakes provide a variety of recreational opportunities for the country's residents and visitors. So this is the demographic map of the United Kingdom. So this map shows that the birth rate is highest in Northern Ireland and lowest in London. So the death rate is highest in Wales and lowest in Northern Ireland. So the birth rate in the United Kingdom has been declining for several years. So in 2021, the birth rate was 11.9 births per 1,000 people. So this is the lowest birth rate since records began in 1938. And the death rate also in the United Kingdom has also been declining for several years. So in 2021, the death rate was 9.6 deaths per 1,000 people. So this is the lowest death rate since records began in 1938. And for what reason? Why the birth rate and death rate is declining for several years? Because the birth rate declining because of the presence of for example, the birth control. The presence of birth control is the main reason why the birth rate declining for several years, and also the death rate declining for several years. It is because of the presence of the healthcare services. So as time goes by, healthcare services of their country has improving. That's why the death rate also is declining. And then next, this is the history of the United Kingdom. So let's start with the 43 AD Roman. In this time, invasion of Britain, Emperor Claudius, and then followed by 410 AD Romans withdraw from Britain. And then 5th to 10th centuries, Anglo-Saxons conquer Britain, various kings. And then by 1066, Norman invasion of Britain, William the Conqueror. So in 1215, Magna Carta is signed by King John. So in 1337 to 1453, 100 years war, various kings. And then by 1534, Henry the Eighth breaks with the Catholic Church, Henry the Eighth. So followed by 1558 to 1603, this is the time where the reign of Elizabeth I, and then by 1603 to 1707, this is the union of the crowns, James I and the Sixth. And then by 1707, this is the time where the formation of the Kingdom of Great Britain. And then by 1776, this is the American Revolution under George III. And then 1801, this is the time where the formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland under also by George III. And then 1837 to 1901, this is the reign of Victoria. And then by 1914 to 1918, where is a World War I under by George V. And then followed by 1939 to 1945. This is the where the World War II under the leader of the George VI. And then by 1947, this is the India and Pakistan gained their independence. By 1952 to 1965, this is the reign of the Elizabeth II. And then 1965, Northern Ireland leaves the Republic of Ireland. So and then next 1973, the United Kingdom joins the European Economic Community. And then by 1997, by the leader Tony Blair becomes a prime minister. And then by 2001, the United Kingdom invades Afghanistan. This is under by Tony Blair also. And then by 2023, the United Kingdom invades Iraq. The leader also there, here is the Tony Blair. And then by 2010, David Cameron becomes Prime Minister. Then by 2016, the United Kingdom votes to leave the European Union. The leader was David Cameron also. And then by 2017, Theresa May becomes the Prime Minister. And then by 2019, Boris Johnson becomes Prime Minister. By 2020, the United Kingdom leaves the European Union. And then by 2023, or the present day, the president was Boris Johnson. And now let's move on to the sociological aspects of the United Kingdom. So in terms of social class, the United Kingdom has a long history of social class stratification with a clear divide between the upper class and the middle class, and the said working class is a social class divide has been reflected in a number of areas of British society, including education, healthcare, and housing. However, in recent years, there has been some blurring of these class boundaries as more people from working class backgrounds have moved into the middle class. And then in terms of race and ethnicity, the United Kingdom is a multicultural society with a people from a wide range of ethnic backgrounds. So this diversity has been reflected in a number of areas of British society, including education, healthcare, and the media. However, there have also been some tensions around race and ethnicity in recent years, particularly in the wake of the Brexit vote. And then, in terms of gender, the United Kingdom has a relatively egalitarian gender culture, with women having made significant gains in terms of education, employment, and political representation in recent decades. However, there are still some areas where gender inequality persists, such as in the workplace and in the home. And then last, in terms of religion, the United Kingdom is a secular society with the majority of people identifying as Christian. However, there's also a significant minority of people who identify with other religions such as Islam, Hinduism, and Sikhism. But the majority is Christian. This diversity has been reflected in a number of areas of British society, including education, healthcare, and the media. And now let's move on to the political aspects of the United Kingdom. So these are some of the political parties of the United Kingdom: Conservative Party, Labour Party, Liberal Democrats, Scottish National Party or the SNP, and the Plaid Cymru. And then these are their interest groups, including Confederation of British Industry or the CBI, Trades Union Congress or the TUC, the National Trust, Scottish Green Party, and the National Farmers Union or the NFU. And then the role in demographic participation of United Kingdom are these. First, they represent the interests of businesses and employers. They also represent the interests of trades unions and workers. They also represent the interests of heritage and conservative organizations. Also, they represent the interests of Scottish independence and environmentalism. And last, they represent the interests of farmers and the agricultural industry. And now, let's proceed to the ideological aspects of the United Kingdom. So, in terms of conservatism, conservatives typically support traditional values and institutions such as the monarchy and the Church of England. And in social democracy, social democrats believe in a strong social safety net, but also in a market economy. They typically support government intervention in the economy to promote social justice and equality. In terms naman, in liberalism, they believe that the government should play a role in protecting individual rights and liberties, but that it should be not interfere in people's lives too much. And then in socialism, socialists believe that the government should own and control key industries such as healthcare, education, and transportation. They believe that this will lead to a more equitable distribution of wealth and power. And also in communism, communists believe that this will lead to a more just and equitable society. Let's move on to the third country, which is the Mexico. This is the physical map of the Mexico. So Mexico is a very diverse country with a wide range of geographic features. The physical map of Mexico shows the major mountain ranges, rivers, and lakes that shape the country's landscape. So this is also the demographic map of the Mexico. So the map shows that the birth rate is the highest in the southern states in Chiapas, Oaxaca, and Guerrero. The death rate is highest in the northern states of Chihuahua, Durango, and Coahuila. And then the capital city of Mexico City has relatively low birth rate and death rate. So the national birth rate in Mexico is 16.3 births per 1,000 people, and the national death rate is 8.8 deaths per 1,000 people. So this means that the natural population growth rate in Mexico is 7.5 people per 1,000 people. So the birth rate in Mexico has been declining in recent years from a high of 25.6 births per 1,000 people in 1965. This decline is due to a number of factors, including increased access to contraception, later marriage ages, and declining economic opportunities. And also the death rate in Mexico has also been declining in recent years from a high of 12.4 deaths per 1,000 people in 1965. So this decline is due also to improved healthcare, sanitation, and nutrition. Same sa sinabi ko kanina in previous slides. So the combination of a declining birth rate and declining death rate means that Mexico's population is aging. The median age in Mexico is currently 29.1 years, and it is expected to reach 35.7 years by 2050. So this aging population will put a strain on Mexico's social security system and healthcare system. And now let's move on to the history of the Mexico. So by the time of pre-Columbian era, which is 1500s BC to 1521 AD, various civilizations, including the Maya, Aztec, and Toltec happens. Then, followed by the Spanish colonial period, by the year 1521 to 1821 were the various Spanish viceroys. And then the next is the Mexican War of Independence, happened in 1818 to 1821. The leader is the Miguel Hidalgo y Custalia, Jose Maria Morelos y Pavon, and Agustin de Iturbide. Then, followed by the First Mexican Empire by 1821 to 1823, which is Agustin de Iturbide. And then by 1823 to 1835, the First Mexican Republic, Guadalupe Victoria, Vicente Guerrero, and Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. And then followed by the Centralist Republic, year 1835 to 1846, which is Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. And then the Republic of the Rio Grande, this year 1840 to 1848, the leader is Juan Nepomuceno Sigon. And then Mexican-American War happened in the year 1846 to 1848. The leader was Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. And then the Second Mexican Empire by the year 1864 to 1867, the Maximilian I of Mexico. And then by 1867 to 1876, the leader is Benito Juarez, were the restored republic. And then by 1876 to 1911, Porfiriato happens by the lead of Porfirio Diaz. And then Mexican Revolution by 1910 to 1920, Francisco Madero, Venustiano Carranza, Alvaro Obregón, and Plutarco Elias Calles. And then Mexican Maximato by the year 1920 to 1934, Plutarco Elias Calles. And then by the 1929 to 2000, this is the Institutional Revolutionary Party, or the PRI, the various PRI presidents. And then by 2001 to 2006, the leader is Vicente Fox Quesada, where it happened the National Action Party or the PAN. And then 2006 to 2012, Felipe Calderon Hinojosa, also the National Action Party happens also. And then by 2012 to 2018, Enrique Peña Nieto is the leader. And then 2018 up to the present, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, where the National Regeneration Movement or the Morena. And then let's move on to the sociological aspects of the Mexico. So in terms of social stratification, Mexico is a highly stratified society with a small elite at the top and a large majority of people living in poverty. So the main social divisions are based on wealth, education, and social class. Then in terms of race and ethnicity, Mexico is a very diverse country with a population that is made up of the indigenous people or the mestizos, so people of mixed European and indigenous ancestry, and white people. So there is a long history of racism and discrimination in Mexico, and indigenous people and other minority groups continue to face challenges. So in terms of gender roles in Mexico are traditionally very conservative, with women expected to be housewives and mothers, and men expected to be the breadwinners. So however, there has been some progress in recent years towards gender equality, and more women are now entering the workforce and taking on leadership roles. And then, in terms of education in Mexico is compulsory for children up to the age of 14 years old. So however, there are significant disparities in educational attainment between different social groups. So children from poor families are less likely to attend school and more likely to drop out. And that this is the sociological aspects of the Mexico. And now let's move on to the sociological aspects, of Mexico. In terms of health, the healthcare system in Mexico is public and universal. However, it is underfunded and underfunded and understaffed, and there are significant disparities in access to healthcare between different social groups. So in terms of crime, Mexico has a high crime rate, especially in urban areas. The most common crimes are robbery, assault, and kidnapping. And then also in Mexico, we have also here the drug trafficking. Mexico is a major transit country for drug trafficking. The drug cartels that operate in Mexico are responsible for a significant amount of violence and corruption in Mexico. And then in terms of religion, the majority of Mexicans are Roman Catholic, but there are also significant Protestant and indigenous religious communities. And now let's move on to the political aspects of the Mexico. So these are some of the political parties of the Mexico. First, we have the Institutional Revolutionary Party or the PRI, National Action Party or the PAN or the PAN, and then we have also the National Regeneration Movement or the Morena, and also we have Democratic Revolution Party or the PRD. And then this is also some of their interest groups in Mexico. We have centrist, center-right, left-wing, and left-wing populist. And then the role of Mexico in demographic participation. First, dominant party for most of the 20th century, but lost the presidency in 2001. Currently, the second largest party in the Chamber of Deputies. And second, founded in 1939, the PAN or the National Action Party won the presidency in 2000 and again in 2006. Currently the largest party in the Chamber of Deputies. And then next, founded in 1989, the PRD or the Democratic Revolution Party is a coalition of leftist parties and organizations. So currently, the third largest party in the Chamber of the Deputies, and large, founded in 2014, the Morena won the presidency in 2018. Currently, the largest party in the Senate. And then, let's move on to the ideological aspects of the Mexico. So in terms of conservatism, Mexican conservatives typically support a strong central government, limited social change, and free markets. And in terms of liberalism, Mexican liberals typically support a limited role for government, social reform, and environmental protection. And in terms of socialism, Mexican socialists typically support a strong role for government in the economy, social welfare programs, and nationalization of key industries. And in terms of nationalism, Mexican nationalists typically support policies that promote Mexican culture and interests, such as restricting foreign investment and trade. And last, in terms of indigenous rights, Mexican indigenous rights activists typically support policies that promote self-determination, land rights, and cultural preservation for indigenous peoples living in Mexico. And that's all my report. These are my references, and that's all. Thank you.